The Adriatic Sea stretches before you like a sheet of molten silver, glittering under the late afternoon sun. Hundreds of islands, over 1,000, in fact, dot the Croatian coastline like forgotten jewels scattered across a royal table. Some are bustling with life, echoing with the sounds of tourists, fishermen, and local families. Others, however, lie silent. No voices, no lights, only the wind and the waves whispering against ancient rocks. These are Croatia's deserted islands, places where nature has reclaimed the land and mystery clings to every stone. What drove people away from these once inhabited islands? Were they abandoned because of natural forces, shifting economies, or something far stranger? Something that still waits, hidden beneath the overgrown ruins and restless waters? Imagine approaching one of these islands by boat. From a distance, it looks almost idyllic. Green hills roll toward quiet beaches. Seabirds circle lazily overhead. But as you draw closer, a strange emptiness emerges. Crumbling stone houses peek through dense vegetation. Pathways lead nowhere, swallowed by thorny bushes. A church bell tower, roofless and weathered, stands like a sentinel watching the endless horizon. There is no smoke from chimneys, no boats tied to the pier, no laughter of children playing by the shore. Only silence. It's the kind of silence that makes you feel as if time itself has stopped. Croatia's coastline is home to more than 1,200 islands, islets, and reefs. And while many of them are celebrated for their beauty, Var with its vibrant nightlife, Korčula with its medieval charm, Brač with its legendary beaches, over 50 remain uninhabited despite once supporting thriving communities. Names like Sveti Andrija, Bajčevo, and Goli Otok carry stories that span centuries, each with its own unique blend of history, tragedy, and rumor. Some islands were thriving fishing hubs during the Venetian Republic. Others were strategic outposts during the Austro-Hungarian Empire. A few even hosted entire villages that seemed destined to last forever. Yet today, only ruins remain, as if their inhabitants vanished overnight. One of the most haunting examples is the island of Sveti Andrija, also known as St. Andrew's Island. Once the site of a Benedictine monastery, it flourished in the Middle Ages. Monks lived here in isolation, tending to their gardens, praying in stone chapels, and watching the horizon for approaching ships. Then, in the 15th century, the monastery was suddenly abandoned. No one knows exactly why. Some say it was disease, a plague that swept through the Adriatic and left death in its wake. Others whisper about pirate raids or strange lights that frightened the monks into leaving. All that remains today are the shattered walls of the monastery, half buried beneath vines and the relentless sea breeze. But Sveti Andrija is only one piece of a much larger puzzle. Take Bajčevo, for example. Famous today for the Blue Cave, a natural wonder where sunlight creates an otherworldly glow beneath the water. Bajčevo once supported a small but lively population of fishermen and farmers. In the early 20th century, nearly 200 people called the island home. They raised goats, grew vineyards, and built sturdy stone houses to withstand the fierce winter winds. Then, as if following some invisible command, families began leaving. One by one, they packed their belongings and sailed for the mainland. By the 1960s, Bajčevo was nearly empty. Today, only a handful of seasonal residents remain, their lives dictated by the rhythms of tourism and the sea. Why did they leave? The answers vary from island to island, but patterns emerge. Economic hardship, changing trade routes, the collapse of traditional fishing industries, younger generations seeking education and opportunity on the mainland, earthquakes and storms that destroyed homes and livelihoods. Yet locals and visitors alike can't help but wonder if there's more to the story. Some speak of strange sounds echoing through the night, like distant bells or ghostly voices carried on the wind. Others claim to have seen lights flickering on deserted shores, long after the last resident departed. Perhaps the most chilling of Croatia's deserted islands is Goli Otok, literally, barren island. Unlike the others, Goli Otok was not abandoned by choice. During the era of communist Yugoslavia, it served as a political prison, a place where those accused of opposing the regime were sent for re-education. prisoners endured brutal conditions. Scorching summer heat, freezing winter winds, and relentless physical labor. Though not a traditional island community, Goli Otok once held thousands of people within its concrete walls. When the prison closed in the late 1980s, the island was left to decay. Today, rusting barbed wire and crumbling guard towers remain as grim reminders of a dark chapter in Balkan history. Visitors describe an oppressive atmosphere, as if the suffering of the past still lingers in the air. These stories feed into a larger narrative, one that transcends borders and cultures. Across the world, humans have always been drawn to islands. They represent both sanctuary and isolation, freedom and danger. From the fabled Atlantis to the cursed shores of Oak Island in Canada, deserted islands spark the imagination. Croatia's abandoned islands fit perfectly into this universal fascination. They are places where the past feels closer, where the line between history and legend blurs. Was there a hidden catastrophe that forced entire communities to flee? Could these islands hold secrets, ancient artifacts, lost manuscripts, undiscovered tombs, waiting to be uncovered? Scientists and historians approach these questions with caution. Archaeologists have unearthed Roman mosaics, Illyrian fortifications, and medieval churches across the Adriatic, each discovery adding another layer to the island's complex history. Geological studies reveal shifting coastlines, rising sea levels, and the constant threat of earthquakes. Economists point to the lure of mainland jobs and the decline of traditional industries. These explanations are logical, even convincing, but they don't fully satisfy the human hunger for mystery. Consider the case of Palagruza, a remote island group halfway between Croatia and Italy. Palagruza has been inhabited on and off for thousands of years, serving as a strategic outpost for Greeks, Romans, and Venetians. Legends claim it was the burial site of Diomedes, a hero of the Trojan War. Today, only a lighthouse keeper lives there year-round, tending to the beacon that guides ships through treacherous waters. Standing on the rocky cliffs, surrounded by endless sea, it's easy to believe that ancient myths might still hold a kernel of truth. The Croatian government and local organizations have made efforts to preserve these islands, recognizing their cultural and ecological value. Some, like the Kornati archipelago, are protected as national parks, allowing visitors to explore their rugged beauty while safeguarding fragile ecosystems. Others remain private property, accessible only by special permission. A few are slowly being rediscovered by adventurous travelers seeking solitude and authenticity far from crowded tourist hotspots. Yet even as new life trickles back to these forgotten places, the aura of mystery remains. What makes these islands so compelling is not just their silence, but what that silence represents. They are mirrors of our own fears and desires. The fear of isolation, the desire for escape, the inevitability of change. Each crumbling wall and overgrown path tells a story of human ambition and fragility. People once built homes here, raised children, celebrated weddings, and buried their dead. They laughed, loved, and struggled, just as we do today. And then, for reasons still not fully understood, they left. As the sun sets over the Adriatic, painting the sky with streaks of gold and crimson, the deserted islands of Croatia seem to come alive. Shadows stretch across the ruins. The waves lap against ancient stone. Somewhere, a seabird cries out, its call echoing across the empty hills. Are these merely remnants of the past, or are they doorways to something deeper? A reminder that even in abandonment, life leaves traces that refuse to disappear? In the coming chapters of this journey, we will dive deeper into the stories behind these islands. We will explore the legends of cursed treasures, the science of shifting seas, and the enduring question that continues to captivate historians and dreamers alike. Are Croatia's deserted islands simply forgotten corners of history, or do they hold secrets that could change everything we think we know about the Adriatic and the people who once called it home? To understand the mystery of Croatia's deserted islands, we must first look back at the long and turbulent history of the Adriatic coast. For thousands of years, this stretch of sea has been a crossroads of civilizations. Illyrian tribes settled the shores long before the Romans arrived, leaving behind hill forts and burial mounds that still rise above the rocky terrain. Greek merchants sailed here in search of trade, founding colonies and spreading myths of gods and heroes. Roman legions followed, building villas, ports, and roads that connected these islands to the farthest reaches of their empire. Later came Venetians, Ottomans, Austrians, and finally the shifting powers of the 20th century. Each wave of conquerors left its mark: stone walls, carved altars, abandoned fortresses. But each also left behind stories of sudden departures, unexplained disappearances, and communities that flourished for centuries only to vanish in a single generation. The very geography of Croatia helped create these mysteries. The country's coastline is one of the most indented in the world, with countless bays, coves, and islets forming natural harbors and hidden refuges. For ancient sailors, these islands were both a blessing and a curse. They offered protection from storms and enemies, but they also isolated communities from one another. A village could thrive for decades on fishing and farming, only to find itself cut off when trade routes shifted or when the sea turned against them. Earthquakes, landslides, and sudden storms have reshaped the Adriatic for millennia, swallowing harbors and creating new reefs overnight. Entire settlements were sometimes forced to relocate, leaving behind ghostly ruins that today seem frozen in time. One of the most intriguing examples is the island of Lastovo. Today, Lastovo is inhabited and even hosts a popular music festival, but its past contains gaps that still puzzle historians. During the Middle Ages, Lastovo was repeatedly attacked by pirates and rival navies. At one point, Venetian forces ordered the entire population to abandon their homes and move inland to avoid Ottoman raids. Some villages were never reoccupied, their stone walls crumbling under vines and moss. Walking through these forgotten hamlets today, you can still see the outlines of houses, the remains of wells, and the faint traces of streets where children once played. Who were these families, and what became of them after they left? Records are scarce, and oral traditions are fragmented, leaving historians with more questions than answers. The story of Susak offers another fascinating glimpse into the dynamics of isolation and exodus. This tiny island, known for its distinctive sandy soil and unique dialect, once supported a thriving community of farmers and fishermen. In the 20th century, economic hardship and political upheaval drove many residents to emigrate, particularly to the United States. Entire families left within a single decade, and by the 1960s, the island's population had dwindled dramatically. Today, Susak is slowly reviving thanks to tourism, but the memories of mass departure still linger in the abandoned houses that the landscape. Some visitors report an eerie sense of déjà vu while wandering its narrow alleys, as if the island remembers the footsteps of those who once called it home. Even islands that never hosted large populations carry echoes of mystery. Take Pore, a tiny rocky outcrop dominated by a single 19th century lighthouse. Lighthouse keepers once lived there year-round, braving fierce storms and isolation to keep ships safe. When automation arrived, the keepers left, and the island fell silent. Travelers who visit Pore today often speak of a strange energy, a feeling that the sea and sky are somehow more alive here than anywhere else. Could this be the influence of centuries of human presence, or something older, something beyond human understanding? The Adriatic's legends only deepen these questions. Ancient Greek sailors believed the sea was home to nymphs and sea gods who could bless or curse those who crossed their waters. Local fishermen tell stories of Morskvile, seafarers who lure sailors to their doom or protect them in times of danger. On some deserted islands, villagers claim to have seen ghostly figures walking among the ruins at night. Flickering lights dance across the waves with no apparent source. Strange echoes carry across the water, sounding like voices in languages long forgotten. Skeptics dismiss these accounts as tricks of the wind or the mind, but such tales persist because they resonate with the eerie silence of these places. Of course, not all mysteries are supernatural. The 20th century brought political upheavals that left their own scars on the islands. During World War II, the Adriatic became a battleground for Axis and Allied forces. Some islands were fortified with bunkers and gun emplacements, many of which remain hidden in the underbrush. After the war, the rise and fall of Yugoslavia created new borders and tensions. Goli Otok, the infamous prison island, stands as a chilling reminder of how politics can turn paradise into a nightmare. Visitors today describe a heavy atmosphere around the abandoned barracks and rusted gates, as if the suffering of former prisoners still lingers in the salt air. Economic changes have also played a decisive role. For centuries, many islanders relied on fishing, viticulture, and small-scale farming. As mainland economies modernized, younger generations left for cities like Split, Zadar, and Zagreb in search of education and jobs. Without enough people to maintain them, villages fell into disrepair. Vineyards became overgrown, harbors silted up, and once busy churches stood empty. Some islands, like Sveti Clement in the Pakleni archipelago, were purchased by wealthy outsiders who converted them into private retreats. Others, like the Kornati Islands, were transformed into national parks, preserving their natural beauty but freezing their human stories in place. Despite these explanations, a lingering sense of wonder remains. Standing among the ruins of an abandoned village, you can't help but feel the presence of those who came before. A child's toy buried beneath a collapsed roof, a carved cross weathered by centuries of wind, a stone bench where someone once sat to watch the sunset. These small details bridge the gap between past and present, reminding us that history is not just dates and events but lived experience. Meals shared, songs sung, dreams pursued and abandoned. Modern explorers and researchers continue to investigate these islands, using technology to uncover clues hidden beneath the surface. Drone surveys reveal ancient field patterns and forgotten paths. Ground-penetrating radar detects buried structures that hint at older settlements, possibly dating back to prehistoric times. Marine archaeologists dive into the clear Adriatic waters, discovering shipwrecks loaded with amphorae, coins, and weapons. Each discovery adds another layer to the story, suggesting that these islands were once far more connected and vibrant than their current silence suggests. Some scholars even speculate about lost civilizations. Could there have been advanced communities along the Adriatic that predate recorded history? The legend of Atlantis often surfaces in these discussions, fueled by the discovery of submerged ruins off the Croatian coast. While most experts dismiss a direct connection, the idea that rising seas may have swallowed ancient settlements is not far-fetched. Geological evidence shows that sea levels have risen significantly over the past 10,000 years, potentially inundating coastal villages and creating the islands we see today. What we call deserted islands might in fact be the mountain peaks of once thriving landscapes now hidden beneath the waves. The cultural significance of these islands cannot be overstated. They are not merely empty spaces but living archives of human resilience and fragility. Festivals on the mainland still celebrate the saints and harvests once honored by island communities. Folk songs preserve dialects and melodies that might otherwise have been lost. Recipes handed down through generations recall the flavors of meals once cooked in stone kitchens now open to the sky. In this sense, the deserted islands are not truly abandoned. They live on in memory, art, and tradition. Tourism, ironically, has become both a threat and a lifeline. Adventurous travelers seek out these forgotten places for their raw beauty and sense of discovery. Kayakers paddle through hidden coves. Hikers climb overgrown trails to reach panoramic viewpoints. Photographers capture the haunting contrast of crumbling walls against turquoise seas. Responsible tourism can bring much-needed attention and funding for preservation, but it also risks damaging delicate ecosystems and erasing the very solitude that makes these islands so captivating. Balancing access with protection is a challenge that Croatia continues to navigate. As night falls over the Adriatic, the deserted islands reveal their most magical side. The stars blaze with an intensity rarely seen in urban skies. The Milky Way stretches across the heavens, mirrored by the shimmering sea below. In this moment, it's easy to imagine the lives of those who once stood here, gazing at the same constellations, wondering about their own place in the universe. Were they driven by the same questions we ask today, about love, survival, destiny? Or did they know secrets we have yet to rediscover? In the next chapter of this journey, we will venture deeper into the myths and legends that surround these silent sentinels of the Adriatic. From tales of buried treasure to whispers of ancient rites, we will explore how stories passed down through generations continue to shape the way we see these islands today. Are they simply beautiful relics of a bygone era? Or do they hold clues to a hidden past that still waits, just beyond the reach of the tide? As the Adriatic winds sweep through the labyrinth of islands, the echoes of legends grow louder. Croatia's deserted islands are not merely places where people once lived and left. They are landscapes steeped in myth, where the line between history and imagination blurs. Sailors, fishermen, and travelers across centuries have carried tales of supernatural encounters and forgotten civilizations that seem to defy logic. Whether whispered around coastal campfires or recorded in ancient chronicles, these stories have survived because they capture something deeper than mere entertainment. A sense that these islands are alive with mysteries still waiting to be uncovered. One of the most enduring legends is that of Palagruza, a remote rocky island almost equidistant between Italy and Croatia. Palagruza has long been a point of fascination for historians and sailors alike. According to some scholars, it was the site of Diomedes' sanctuary, dedicated to the Greek hero who fought at Troy. Ancient sources speak of rituals and offerings made to appease the gods of the sea. Even today, divers exploring the waters around Palagruza occasionally find fragments of pottery and tools dating back to Greek and Roman times, lending weight to the idea that this isolated rock once served as a sacred waypoint for Mediterranean mariners. Yet no definitive temple has been found, leaving open the question of whether the sanctuary was real or a product of collective imagination. Farther north lies the haunting tale of Doxa, an island with a darker, more recent past. Doxa is infamous for the mass executions that took place there at the end of World War II, when suspected collaborators were brought to the island and killed without trial. For decades, the tragedy was shrouded in silence, with locals avoiding the island altogether. Fishermen claimed to hear cries at night or see ghostly figures along the shore. It was not until the late 20th century that investigations began to recover human remains and piece together the events of that bloody period. Doxa reminds visitors that the mysteries of Croatia's islands are not all ancient. Some are tied to the unresolved wounds of modern history. Then there is the strange allure of Lokrum, a lush island just a short ferry ride from Dubrovnik. Lokrum's beauty masks a reputation for misfortune. Legends say that Benedictine monks who were expelled from the island in the late 18th century placed a curse on anyone who tried to claim it. Subsequent owners, including nobles, military officers, and even members of the Habsburg dynasty, suffered untimely deaths, financial ruin, or tragic accidents. Visitors to Lokrum today can still see the ruins of the monastery where the curse supposedly originated, as well as the botanical gardens and fortress left behind by later occupants. Whether coincidence or something more, the pattern of misfortune has given Lokrum an atmosphere of quiet menace that even casual tourists notice as they wander its shaded paths. The Adriatic's legends are not limited to curses and ghosts. Some speak of entire civilizations lost to the sea. Among the most tantalizing is the story of the city of Atlantis, reimagined in Croatian lore as a possible settlement buried beneath the Adriatic waves. Off the coast of Pag and other islands, divers have reported unusual stone formations that some interpret as ancient walls or roads. Geological surveys reveal that sea levels in the region have risen dramatically over the last 10,000 years, submerging low-lying coastal areas. Could these underwater structures be the remains of a prehistoric culture erased by time and tide? Most scientists caution against jumping to conclusions, but the idea of a Croatian Atlantis continues to inspire speculation and exploration. Pag itself holds other secrets. Known today for its salt pans and lace-making traditions, the island was once the site of mysterious pagan rituals. Archaeologists have uncovered ancient stone circles. Some call them Croatia's Stonehenge, whose purpose remains unknown. Were they astronomical observatories, ceremonial gathering places, or simply markers for navigation? Local legends claim they were built by giants or left behind by visitors from another world. On moonlit nights, the stones seem to glow faintly, a phenomenon likely caused by the island's high salt content, but which villagers once took as a sign of supernatural power. Some mysteries are more subtle but no less compelling. In the Kornati archipelago, a scattering of dry, rocky islands forms a natural maze that has confounded sailors for centuries. Charts record numerous shipwrecks in these waters, where sudden squalls and shifting currents create hidden hazards. Locals tell of Kornatskvile, island spirits who lure ships onto the rocks or protect fishermen in exchange for offerings of wine and bread. Old seafarers still perform small rituals before venturing into the Kornati, a reminder that even in the age of GPS and satellite mapping, the sea retains its power to humble human ambition. The island of Vis, once a strategic military base, adds another layer to Croatia's tapestry of mystery. During the Cold War, Yugoslavia fortified Vis with tunnels, bunkers, and hidden submarine pens, many of which remain sealed or unexplored. Locals speak of secret experiments, underground chambers, and even sightings of unidentified flying objects. While some of these stories can be explained by military secrecy, others hint at stranger possibilities. Divers exploring the waters around Vis have reported unusual electromagnetic disturbances, their compasses spinning wildly without explanation. Scientists attribute this to natural magnetic anomalies in the seabed, but the sensation of standing in a place where navigation itself seems to falter is undeniably unsettling. Nature itself sometimes creates phenomena that fuel legend. Blue caves, like the famous one on Bisevo Island, produce an otherworldly glow when sunlight refracts through underwater openings. To ancient peoples, these shimmering chambers were portals to the divine or entrances to the underworld. Even today, visitors emerge from the blue haze with a sense of awe that words cannot fully capture. Bioluminescent plankton, which occasionally illuminates the waves at night, only deepens the impression of a sea alive with hidden forces. These stories persist because the islands invite imagination. Their rugged landscapes and sudden silences create the perfect stage for legends to take root. When a settlement disappears without explanation, the mind fills in the gaps with tales of curses, spirits, or ancient cataclysms. When ruins lie half-buried under the sea, it is easy to envision an Atlantis waiting to be rediscovered. Each unexplained phenomenon, whether a strange light, a magnetic anomaly, or a mysterious echo, feeds the sense that the Adriatic holds secrets beyond the reach of science. Modern researchers approach these legends with a blend of skepticism and curiosity. Archaeologists use sonar, drones, and satellite imagery to map underwater terrain, searching for evidence of submerged settlements. Historians comb through Venetian, Ottoman, and Austro-Hungarian archives for references to forgotten villages or unexplained disappearances. Anthropologists interview elderly islanders, recording oral traditions before they fade away. Occasionally, these efforts yield breakthroughs. A previously unknown Roman villa uncovered beneath a vineyard, a network of prehistoric trade routes revealed by isotope analysis, a cache of medieval coins that redefines regional timelines. Yet for every mystery solved, new questions arise, ensuring that the sense of wonder remains intact. Interestingly, the persistence of these legends has economic as well as cultural implications. Adventure tourism thrives on mystery. Visitors from around the world are drawn to islands with reputations for ghosts, curses, or lost cities. Guided tours to sites like Doxa, Lochrum, and the stone circles of Pag promise not only scenic beauty but also a brush with the unknown. Local businesses capitalize on this allure, offering mystery tours and themed accommodations that blend history with storytelling. While some critics worry about the commercialization of tragedy or folklore, many islanders see it as a way to preserve their heritage and sustain their communities. But the relationship between legend and reality is delicate. Over-romanticizing the past risks distorting history, while excessive skepticism can strip these places of their magic. The challenge lies in balancing factual investigation with respect for the intangible, the feelings of awe, fear, and curiosity that have kept these stories alive for centuries. As one Croatian historian put it, these islands are not just land and water. They are mirrors. They reflect our need to believe that the world still holds secrets. Standing on a deserted island at dusk, it's easy to understand what she meant. The sun sinks into the Adriatic, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Waves lap against the rocks with a rhythm as old as time. Somewhere in the distance, a bell echoes across the water, though no church is in sight. In that moment, the legends feel less like fiction and more like a deeper truth, one that speaks to humanity's eternal desire to connect with the unknown. As we move forward in this journey, the next chapter will explore how modern science and technology are beginning to shed light on these age-old mysteries. From advanced underwater mapping to DNA analysis of ancient remains, we will examine how today's tools are helping to separate fact from folklore. Yet even as answers emerge, the question remains: will solving the mysteries diminish their power, or will each discovery only deepen the sense that the Adriatic's deserted islands are far more extraordinary than we ever imagined? To truly grasp why the legend of the Adriatic Atlantis persists, we must plunge deeper, literally and figuratively, into the forces that shape this sea and its enigmatic seabed. Beneath the calm blue surface of the Adriatic lies a restless world, where tectonic plates grind and shift, where ancient rivers once carved their paths, and where the slow march of time leaves tantalizing clues about civilizations that came before us. Scientists, geologists, and oceanographers have long suspected that the Adriatic hides more than just shipwrecks. It hides a record of lost coastlines, drowned valleys, and perhaps forgotten human settlements. This is where myth and science collide in a dance as old as the sea itself. The Adriatic Sea is a geologist's playground. It sits atop a complex collision zone between the African and Eurasian tectonic plates, a slow-motion crash that has shaped the Balkans for millions of years. The very mountains that cradle Croatia's coast, the Dinaric Alps, are proof of this relentless tectonic ballet. When plates push, land rises. When sea levels rise, coastlines sink. Throughout the last ice age, sea levels were far lower than today, exposing vast stretches of what is now ocean. Archaeologists estimate that during the last glacial maximum, roughly 20,000 years ago, the Adriatic was a wide plain. Rivers meandered across it, connecting what are now isolated islands. Entire ecosystems, and perhaps entire cultures, may have thrived on land now hundreds of feet underwater. Could the Croatian Atlantis simply be the memory of those drowned worlds? Modern sonar mapping has revealed submerged riverbeds and terraces along the Adriatic floor, silent testimony to landscapes that once basked under the sun. Fishermen sometimes haul up unexpected relics: fragments of pottery, stones shaped by human hands, and tools whose age defies easy explanation. Near the island of Pag, divers discovered what they believe to be prehistoric structures: stone circles and walls aligned in curious patterns. Some scientists caution that these could be natural formations shaped by currents and erosion, yet others whisper that these patterns are too deliberate to dismiss. Could these be the foundations of a settlement swallowed by rising seas when the Ice Age ended? The sea itself holds more than just geological secrets. Ancient trade routes once crisscrossed the Adriatic, linking the Illyrians, Greeks, Romans, and Venetians in a network of commerce and culture. Every empire that ruled this coast left its imprint: ports, quarries, temples, and fortresses. Some were lost to war and time, others to earthquakes and storms. Dubrovnik, that jewel of the Adriatic, suffered devastating tremors in 1667, reminders that the earth beneath is far from still. If entire towns could crumble in moments, what of villages built closer to the shifting shorelines thousands of years ago? They would have stood no chance against the relentless advance of the sea. Cutting-edge technology is now peeling back the layers of this mystery. Marine archaeologists deploy autonomous underwater vehicles equipped with high-resolution sonar to scan the seabed, while divers equipped with cameras explore caverns and trenches few humans have ever seen. Some expeditions have discovered walls of stone blocks stacked with uncanny precision, while others have documented pavements eerily similar to ancient roads. Radiocarbon dating of artifacts retrieved from these depths sometimes reveals ages of 6,000 to 8,000 years, long before the great civilizations of Egypt or Mesopotamia reached their peak. Could these findings represent a culture that developed independently, perhaps one that inspired myths passed down through millennia? And then there are the strange anomalies that defy simple explanation. Local divers tell stories of underwater blue holes, circular sinkholes that seem to lead to endless darkness. Scientists attribute these to karst formations typical of limestone regions. Yet legends speak of them as gateways to another world. Fishermen avoid certain stretches of water where compasses behave erratically, their needles spinning as if confused by unseen magnetic forces. Could these be mere quirks of geology? Or are they remnants of some long-forgotten technology, echoes of a civilization advanced beyond its time? The Adriatic's hidden history does not exist in isolation. Across the world, from the Black Sea to the Caribbean, scientists have documented submerged landscapes that were once dry and inhabited. The story of Doggerland, a vast plain that once connected Britain to mainland Europe, mirrors what might have happened here. As glaciers melted and oceans rose, entire cultures were forced to flee, leaving behind nothing but legends. Plato's tale of Atlantis may have been inspired by such real events. Stories of sudden floods and lost homelands passed down through generations until they became myth. Could the Adriatic Atlantis be one of these drowned memories, preserved in local folklore as the lost city of the sea? Local traditions certainly hint at deeper truths. Along the Dalmatian coast, villagers still tell tales of Grey, ancient hill forts built by the Illyrians, and of cities swallowed by the waves after angering the gods. Some elders recount dreams of stone roads beneath the sea, of bell towers that can still be heard ringing on stormy nights. Skeptics dismiss these as quaint legends, but historians know that myths often contain kernels of fact. After all, Troy was once dismissed as mere fiction until Heinrich Schliemann unearthed its ruins in the 19th century. What if the Adriatic hides a similar revelation, waiting for the right explorer to uncover it? Yet the pursuit of this mystery raises profound questions. If a lost civilization does lie beneath the Adriatic, what does it tell us about human resilience and fragility? Would its discovery rewrite the history of Europe, forcing us to reconsider the timeline of human development? And what might it teach us about our own future as rising seas once again threaten coastal cities around the world? Perhaps the legend of the Croatian Atlantis is not just about the past. It is a warning about what lies ahead. The sea that once consumed a forgotten city could one day claim ours. As we stand on the windswept cliffs of Croatia, staring out at the glittering horizon, the Adriatic seems to whisper an invitation. The answers are there, beneath the waves, waiting for those brave enough to seek them. Whether the lost city is fact or fable, the mystery itself binds us to this ancient sea, reminding us that history is not just something we read in books. It is something that still moves beneath our feet, hidden in the depths, calling us to remember. As the golden sun sinks toward the horizon and casts a shimmering glow across the Adriatic Sea, the question lingers like the salty mist in the air. Is the lost city of the Adriatic merely a poetic metaphor, a legend woven from the dreams of ancient fishermen, or could it be a tangible chapter of human history, one waiting to be uncovered beneath the silent waves? Over the course of this journey, we have followed faint echoes that stretch across millennia. Fragmented stones hidden under the seabed, whispers of coastlines that once flourished where there is now only open water, and myths carried from generation to generation like delicate seashells passed from hand to hand. Each clue beckons us closer to an extraordinary possibility, that somewhere beneath Croatia's dazzling blue waters lies a story older and more complex than any preserved in the pages of history. Civilizations across the world have long been captivated by the idea of lands swallowed by time. Plato's enduring tale of Atlantis still captures imaginations thousands of years after it was first written. In the Pacific, divers marvel at the mysterious underwater terraces of Yonaguni. In the Mediterranean, legends of lost cities resurface again and again, as if humanity itself is haunted by the memory of sudden, cataclysmic change. The Adriatic, with its unique geological history, stands among the most intriguing of these possible lost worlds. Scientific evidence supports what the legends have always suggested, that the sea did not always reach its present boundaries. Thousands of years ago, vast plains and river valleys stretched where today only waves roll, and entire communities could have vanished beneath the rising tide. Consider the oral traditions of the coastal villages, stories told for centuries about grand cities that were punished by the gods or doomed by their own hubris. To modern ears, these may sound like bedtime myths, but perhaps they began as something far more tangible, the collective memory of real events. Imagine a community witnessing the slow but relentless advance of the sea, their farmlands disappearing, their homes threatened, until finally the ocean consumed everything. To those ancient witnesses, such a disaster would have felt apocalyptic, proof of divine wrath or cosmic judgment. Over time, these memories would have transformed into legends of cursed cities, enchanted harbors, and vanished civilizations. Every legend begins with a seed of truth, and perhaps the Adriatic's tales are no exception. The search for this so-called Adriatic Atlantis is far more than an archaeological challenge. It is a profound meditation on impermanence, resilience, and the fragility of human achievement. Beneath the waves, researchers continue to find artifacts that predate some of Europe's earliest known cultures. Tools, pottery fragments, and stone formations that hint at organized settlements. Every sonar scan, every deep-sea dive, every seemingly insignificant shard retrieved from the seabed brings us one step closer to rewriting the story of Europe, and perhaps even the story of humanity itself. Yet, like a patient guardian, the Adriatic keeps its greatest secrets locked away. For every discovery, more questions emerge, teasing us with glimpses of something almost within reach but forever elusive. Picture the moment when a diver's light finally sweeps across a perfectly aligned row of stones, unmistakably carved by human hands. Visualize a submerged harbor wall, or the faint outline of a marketplace where voices once echoed in languages we no longer speak. Such a revelation would send shockwaves through the scientific community. Croatia, long celebrated for its breathtaking coastline and rich medieval history, would suddenly find itself at the center of one of the greatest archaeological breakthroughs of all time. The Adriatic would no longer be merely a sea of beauty. It would be a sea of answers, proof that civilizations rose and fell here long before our current understanding of European history. Could this astonishing moment happen within our lifetime? Perhaps it depends on the next technological leap, the next daring expedition, or the next brave soul willing to plunge deeper into the unknown than anyone before. And yet, even if the ultimate proof remains hidden, the journey itself transforms us. Searching for a lost city is not only an act of discovery, it is an act of reflection. The same natural forces that may have erased an ancient Adriatic civilization are at work today. Rising sea levels threaten modern cities around the globe. Venice fights a daily battle against encroaching tides. Low-lying island nations face the terrifying prospect of extinction. The legend of the Adriatic Atlantis becomes more than a historical mystery. It becomes a warning. Nothing we build, no matter how grand or technologically advanced, can stand forever against the relentless power of nature. Our skyscrapers, our ports, even our nations may one day face the same fate as those forgotten settlements beneath the sea. But there is another lesson hidden within the waves, one not of fear but of resilience. If a civilization once thrived where only fish now swim, it means people found a way to live, trade, and flourish even in a world of unpredictable change. Their existence, even if only glimpsed through scattered relics, is a testament to the enduring human spirit. They remind us that while nature may erase our monuments, it cannot erase our curiosity, our drive to explore, and our determination to leave a mark, however temporary, on the world around us. As we stand on the rocky Croatian shoreline and listen to the rhythmic crash of waves, we are reminded that this mystery is more than an academic puzzle. It is a bridge between past and present, myth and reality, science and wonder. The Adriatic calls to all who dare to look beneath the surface, inviting explorers, divers, and dreamers to join in the quest. Perhaps the next great breakthrough will not come from a government-funded expedition or a seasoned archaeologist, but from an unexpected source. A curious mind watching this very video, someone who refuses to believe that all the world's great mysteries have already been solved. And so, the final question becomes yours to answer. What do you believe lies hidden beneath the sparkling blue waters of the Adriatic? Could the next clue already be within our reach, waiting for the right eyes to see it and the right heart to recognize its meaning? Share your thoughts, your theories, and your own encounters with the sea in the comments below. Let's build a community of modern explorers who refuse to let these stories fade into silence. If this journey through history, myth, and science has captured your imagination, don't let it end here. Subscribe to this channel to join us on more expeditions into the world's greatest unsolved mysteries. Together, we will uncover forgotten empires, hidden technologies, and ancient truths that connect us across time and space. Your support allows us to dive deeper, research further, and bring you closer to the answers that have eluded humanity for centuries. Because somewhere beneath those restless waves, the past is still alive. Perhaps the Adriatic Atlantis is not just a legend waiting to be disproved, but a real story yearning to be told. The sea will not reveal its secrets easily, but with courage, curiosity, and persistence, perhaps it will reveal them to us. And maybe, just maybe, you will be among the first to witness the moment when legend finally becomes history.